So Dave, what do you think makes a better archer in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons? The fighter or the rogue?
Well, you know, Ted, that's tough. Action Surge is pretty awesome, but Death Strike, death right in the name. There's even other classes.
Oh yeah? Like what?
Oh, that's easy. You have the Artificer, the Monk, even the Warlock.
Alright. So I guess we should just discuss what makes the deadliest archer in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons.
Welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds. I'm Nerdarchy Dave, and as usual, I'm hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
If you don't want to miss a single video, make sure you fill your quiver with D&D knowledge by clicking that subscribe button.
But don't forget to shoot that notification bell, or those videos might just zoom right by you without your knowledge.
Hey, before we jump into this video, let's hit the mark with our sponsor, Hero Forge, and their latest Kickstarter.
Hero Forge 2.0 is your answer to the I've got too many unpainted minis, I can't buy more. Hero Forge 2.0 brings 3D colored minis right to you. If you already love all of the great features that Hero Forge offers, you know, supreme customization, positioning, all of the fantastic choices, but again, you've got too many unpainted minis. Here's your answer. You can design the figure just like you did before, but then choose your color options and have it 3D printed in color straight to you. I've seen them. They look amazing. I saw a prototype. Oh my God. I honestly thought it was professionally painted the first time I saw it. It's just amazing. You got to check it out. The link is going to be down in the description below. Support the channel by helping out our sponsors.
All right, as we kind of mentioned, you know, in the intro, there are a bunch of classes that actually have great options for the archer. Matter of fact, 7 of the 13 classes would make great archers, and there's even some things, other places that we can cherry pick. So we're going to start off and kind of go through the classes and see what they offer.
So before we get into that, I will let you know that we're not doing a character build. There's no guide. We're not going to show you, this is the ultimate archer. We're just going to pinpoint the class features, spells, and such that make good archers, and then you decide what it's going to be when you decide to make your next archer.
Well, yeah, and that's the great thing about playing an archer in 5e D&D. There's so many cool ways you can do it. Some may be better than others, but that doesn't mean they're quite as fun.
Absolutely. You're going to have your role-playing options as well as your mechanical choices, and there are just too many to be able to put it all into one character build. So as Dave says, there's a whole bunch of options. We have 7 classes. What's our first one?
All right, right off the bat, you have Artificer. It's a new character class, specifically the subclass Battlesmith gives you some really cool options that you can use. You're going to get spells. You're going to get infusions. They get extra attack as long as it's a magical weapon, but they're artificers, so they're pretty good at acquiring magic weapons. They even have an ability called Jolt that lets them do extra force damage. They can do it through a magic weapon or through their Iron Defender. So you're going to have some cool and interesting things you can do there.
All right, that works for me. You might not see it, but Bard is also going to make a fantastic archer for this case. You've got the Lore Bard and, all those magical secrets that they're going to get. For the Valor Bard, they're going to get extra attack. Makes sense. The more attacks, the more damage you're doing. The College of Whispers Bard gets Psychic Blades that scales up as they gain levels, so more damage onto those weapons.
Yeah, that Psychic Blades goes all the way from 2d6 to 8d6, so that's a decent amount of damage.
Absolutely.
So Fighter gives us a ton of options. Arcane Archer, Battlemaster.
You got Champion and you got Eldritch Knight.
Now let's take a look at some of the abilities that we're going to get. They're going to make this stuff awesome.
First and foremost, you're going to get a fighting style, and nothing beats the archery fighting style. It's going to give you a +2 for all of your ranged attacks. Super helpful in 5th edition.
Arcane Archer is going to get Arcane Shot, Curving Arrow, as well as Magic Arrow. All of them are going to make them better archers, give them cool trick shots that they can do. Curving Arrow gives them another chance of hitting when they miss. Magic Arrow is, yes, that's what it sounds like. Your arrows are considered magic. And then Arcane Shot is going to give you special abilities. So you can almost make you feel like one of those comic book archers.
Champion, you're going to have that improved crit range. That is just fantastic. And then your Eldritch Knight is going to give you access to spells, and there's a number of spells that are going to function well with that archery path.
Now, Battlemaster also has maneuvers, so you're going to be able to do all kinds of crazy trick shots.
When we move into the general fighter skills, there's there's very few things, if anything, that's as good as Action Surge. So that's fantastic. And of course, all fighters are also going to get extra attack.
And not only that, fighters get extra attack all the way up to 4 attacks a round, so they get the most attacks in the game. So, except for special circumstances, for the most part, you're going to let fly the most arrows.
So next up is Monk. And for this one, we have to go with Kensei, depending upon how you want to pronounce it. And they're going to be able to do the most damage with a single regular shot, because eventually their martial arts die goes up to a D10. So that's pretty darn impressive, for that. And then there's just a fantastic amount of monk abilities that are going to stack on top.
You're going to be able to spend Kai points to do bonus damage. You're going to be able to spend Kai points to add pluses to your hit and to your damages. You can take a bonus action to make all of your attacks that round gain an extra D4 to damage. Now, the only disadvantage to, the monk is, they don't get as many shots as the fighter does. Next up is the ranger, and we get both the Gloomstalker and Hunter would make excellent archers.
So Rangers have a wide variety of spells that make them fantastic archers, but again, we'll get into the spell section later on.
The Gloomstalker in the first round of combat is an utter beast. They get extra movement, they get an extra attack, they get extra damage on that attack. They get bonuses to their initiative, which is going to help them go first. They also get Stalker's Fury, so if they miss an attack, they get to make another attack. So all of those are going to be super helpful for an archer.
So the Hunter winds up making a choice early on. You either have Horde Breaker or Colossus Slayer. Both are good choices for your archer class. And then later on, they're actually going to get access to an attack called Volley, which does a ridiculous amount of attacks.
Yeah, Volley is worth mentioning because you pick a point, anything within a 10-foot radius of that point, you can make an attack against as long as you have enough ammunition. And I guess we figured that's somewhere between 16 and 25 targets, depending on how you interpret how that 10-foot radius.
How your DM wants to interpret. It's really like how you're pinpointing the location. Are you targeting a square or are you targeting a point? So, we had some discussion on this yesterday, so it's up to you how you want to do that. I would play it. It's 25, and that's just an awful lot of arrows to fire all at once.
That is awful lot of arrows to fire at all at once, for sure. It is literally the most in the game. Unless you're a fighter and have Action Surge and you have Volley, then that would be disgusting.
That would be ridiculous. Next up, we're going to have Rogue, and with that one, it's kind of a no-brainer. The Assassin makes a lot of sense, but the Scout also offers a number of interesting options as well.
Yeah, the Assassinate ability is one of the best in the game. If you go first, if you surprise an enemy, you're going to get an auto crit. And then later on at 17th level, you also get the Death Strike ability, which is if your opponent is unaware of the attack and they fail their saving throw, you then double the damage.
Which you're already critting because you're going before them. So it's basically like quadruple damage. Just your sneak attack alone is essentially 40 die 6 once you've maxed that out.
It's literally like you just did a meteor swarm on that guy. It's insane.
It's really crazy. And as Dave says in that intro, Death Strike, death is right in the name. It's amazing. It's great.
And, you only need 17 levels of Assassin to do that. So you could take like 3 more levels and combine it with one of these other classes that we talked about and find ways to put even more damage dice on it.
So the Scout gets Skirmisher and Ambusher. Skirmisher just allows you to kind of move out of, the threatened area so you survive longer. And Ambusher is, really great. So if you attack somebody, your allies are going to get advantage. It's not so much for you doing more damage, but, it's going to help the rest of your party do more.
Lastly, we have Warlock. Specifically the Hexblade. You could do it, with any of the other paths as well. I just feel like the Hexblade is the best one, the cream of the crop. This one is going to take a little bit of work. You're going to need Pact of the Blade in order to pull this one off the most effective. And then you're going to need a handful of invocations, but by 6th level, you have all the ones you need.
So the ones that you are going to want to take are going to be Improved Pack Weapon, Eldritch Smite, and Thirsting Blade.
Here's why you want to take them. Improved Pack Weapon is going to allow you to create a bow, specifically a long bow is probably the best way to go, as your packed weapon. That's going to interact with your Hexblade abilities. and is going to do a couple things. One, you can actually hit things all the way over there with your bow using your charisma. Your improved pack weapon is going to make it a magic weapon, which is cool. Thirsting Blade gives you an extra attack with your packed weapon. And then we're looking at that Eldritch Smite. Now, when you hit with that pack weapon, you can also sack out your Warlock spells in order to smite your enemies.
So you're going to get some ranged smite going on. Pretty awesome if you ask me.
And then the Hexblade's Curse is going to allow you, once per short rest, to curse someone. And with that, that's going to give you improved crit range. It's going to give you extra damage according to your proficiency. And then we also have Hex Warrior, which is going to allow us with our one weapon we bond with, which will be our packed weapon, to use our charisma instead of our dex or strength to attack with. So all in all, this is going to make a very effective archer. And it's going to be a lot different than any of the other archers you build. And it's a way to make a different kind of warlock.
And you know what? By being able to say, like, I hit you because I'm so pretty is just pretty darn comical, if you ask me.
Now, we know there's a lot of races in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons that are going to add to your archer and make them cool and different. But we came up with 5 specifically that have certain features or other things that we think make them iconic for building an archer.
You can look at anything that's going to add an appropriate stat modifier, but we're not looking at that. We're looking at the features.
So Aarakocra, Elf, and Halfling are all great choices. Aarakocra gives you a fly speed, so you can rain death from above. Elf, culturally, they are archers. It's what they do. It's not so much about the abilities they get, although there is a feat that is awesome for playing anything with an elf, but it'll work out really good for our archer. And then halflings have lucky, and let's face it, lucky is just always good.
We also have human and goblin. Humans get access to that feat at first level if you go with the variant option, and any of the different feat choices that we'll talk about later on are going to be great to have right from the get-go. We also have to look at goblin. Goblins have Fury of the Small and Nimble Escape. Fury of the Small, just doing that extra damage, is really great. Who doesn't like being able to throw out some extra damage? And then Nimble Escape is going to allow them to disengage from combat when someone actually gets in their face. So pretty awesome to be able to do that as a bonus action.
Now, we mentioned feats. We came up with 4 that you're probably going to want if you're building the Deadliest Archer.
So we have Crossbow Expert and Elven Accuracy.
Then we have Sharpshooter and Skulker. So Crossbow Expert, the thing that's really great about that, one, if you want to be a crossbowman instead of an archer, you're going to really need that. But the other thing is, even if you're using a bow, or even casting spells for that matter, it removes disadvantage when you have an enemy adjacent to you within 5 foot of you. So it's super useful for that.
Dave mentioned earlier that Elven Accuracy is a really good feat. So anytime you would normally have advantage, you basically get super advantage. You get to roll 3 dice and pick the best one. So you have to be an elf or a half elf to get it. But oh my word, being able to roll 3 dice. I've got a player using it in my game now. And it's just, I cringe every time. It's like, oh, I'm going to make attack rolls. And it's like, oh my God, how many dice are you rolling?
Endless dice. Now, Sharpshooter, you can take a negative to get a bonus to hit. Which really shines with anything that gets a lot of attacks. Look at that Ranger with Volley and Sharpshooter. Imagine them taking 25 attacks and being able to add 10 to each of the damage. Sure, they're not likely to hit with all of them, but if they did, that's 250 points of damage before you touch any dice.
Wow.
But, that's not all. It allows you to ignore 1/2 and 3/4 cover and then long range as well. So when you're firing those shots, you're never going to have disadvantage. So Skulker's great if you want to play a sniper type character, because if you miss with your arrow, which sadly it does happen sometimes, it doesn't reveal your location.
So all in all, those are some great feat choices, that are going to make your archer stand out and shine. So what's up next?
So we mentioned spells before. Numerous times. The Ranger gets a plethora of spells. There's some other casters as well. Battlesmith from the Artificer is great because they get access to some of those really good spells. But, we found a couple from, the Paladin. We found plenty of Ranger spells, as we mentioned, and as well as just some other spells. So we kind of have a list here.
So we got 2 spells right off the top. Hunter's Mark and Hex, they're very similar. They have some secondary features, but their main stick is that they're going to do an extra die 6 of damage when it's marked, and it requires concentration. So you drop an opponent, you can use a bonus action to move it to another. So being able to do this endless extra d6 damage, incredibly useful. So whether you take Hex or Hunter's Mark, whether you take it from Magic Initiate, whether you get it from a class, either way, either of those spells is going to be a fantastic choice.
And Snaring Strike and Hail of Thorns are also great spells. Hail of Thorns, you hit somebody, then everybody in the radius is going to take damage. It's a bonus action to cast. That's a no-brainer. Snaring Strike is another one. It's going to slow your opponents down. It's going to restrain them. It's going to do extra damage.
All right, so we have Zephyr Strike and Flame Arrow. Zephyr Strike is just going to make you more mobile on the battlefield. Choice positioning is always useful for an archer. Flame Arrow is just going to allow you to unload some extra fire damage into your enemies.
Lightning Arrow and Conjure Volley, also great. You take that arrow, you turn it into a lightning line effect. Conjure Volley is another great one. You throw a piece of ammunition up in the air and boom, you create a death zone of arrows or whatever you're using.
So we have Branding Smite and Banishing Smite. Anytime you get access to using these smite spells, it's just unloading some extra damage on there. So really great spells, and you can use these on your arrows.
Yes, these particular spells are the only smite spells that are not limited to melee weapons, as well as they have additional effects and damage. So they're really cool. And, along with all the, maybe not all, but most of the Ranger and Paladin spells, they're usually a bonus action to cast, so you can cast them and then do your attacks.
So we also have Swift Quiver. This is a really great spell that allows you to essentially enchant your quiver, and it allows you to make 2 attacks as your bonus action. They are considered, non-magical ammunition for the cases. That's your only real downside. But being able to, make 2 attacks, if you've got a really hefty enemy, you can go ahead and unload on him. If you've already got your sharpshooter and you want to, sack out, 5 to hit to do an extra 10 to damage, that's 2 additional attacks. Again, that's 20 damage before we're touching dice, so pretty useful there.
And lastly, anytime you can get haste on your archer, that means more movement, that means more armor class, that means better saving throws, but what it also means is another attack. And if we're just going for more attacks, that is awesome for our archer. So if you think this video hit the mark, you might want to check out one of our other character build discussions. There will be a card up here somewhere you can click on and check that out.
If you want to stay on target with Nerdarchy, you can always support us on Patreon. We're creating products for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons every month.
That is content for players and DMs alike. We also do weekly hangouts. We also have monthly giveaways, and our patrons are automatically entered.
So until next time, stay nerdy.